Boxcar Children number 4 is called Mystery Ranch. The book begins with an angry grandfather storming into the house. He is furious about his sister, Jane. Yeah, the Boxcar Children have another relative that grandfather hasn't told them about in the past 2 years. I'm starting to get the feeling that grandfather has relatives secretly stashed all over the country. Anyway, bad news with Aunt Jane. She is sickly and bedridden, she's very grumpy, and she refuses to let the maid eat any food whatsoever. Now the maid is slowly starving to death. No, I'm not joking, that's actually the premise of this book. The maid would rather die than break the no-eating rule. You know, how is Aunt Jane enforcing this rule? She literally cannot get out of bed. What stops the maid from having a snack in the kitchen without telling anyone? Violet and Jessie volunteer to go to Aunt Jane's ranch so they can resolve this ridiculous situation. When they arrive at the town, a nice man helps them take their bags off the train. That seems perfectly normal to me, but Violet and Jessie insist that this man is a mystery man. Who is he? What is he doing here? Should we really care about a guy who said only 4 sentences? Yes, it's a mystery! The girls meet Aunt Jane, and things play out just like the Mrs. Snow storyline from Pollyanna, in that the nice young girls cheer up the crabby old lady, and she transforms into a kind, wonderful woman. How long does it take to reform the murderous Aunt Jane? 2 sentences. That's all. The girls talk to her, and she instantly falls in love with them. For a mean old lady, Aunt Jane sure is nice. Oh, and also the girls make food for the maid so she doesn't starve to death. Good job, girls. This is the point in the book where the culprits appear. They are 3 rough men, and they try to bully Aunt Jane into selling the ranch to them. Sadly, the book completely skips over the part with the culprits in favor of a chapter about Jessie sending a telegram. Because who cares about mysteries in a mystery book? Telegrams are so much more interesting. In fact, the Boxcar Children never see the culprits at any point ever. Whenever the culprits do something, we hear about it secondhand. It's like the entire mystery takes place when nobody's looking. The boys come to the ranch and Aunt Jane instantly falls in love with them and their pet dog. She soon decides to give the ranch to the Boxcar Children. Yes, she hasn't known them for more than 2 weeks, but she decides to give them a 1,280-acre ranch for free. They're just such nice kids. Now that the kids own the ranch, they decide to explore it. They find the culprit's hideout, which is a hut and a fire pit near some weird rocks. The rocks look just like the weird rocks in Aunt Jane's chimney. Ooh. Henry talks with the neighbors about the hut and the culprits. They decide to take the matter to the local sheriff. By the time the kids arrive, the mystery is already over. The sheriff has arrested the culprits off-screen. Mystery Man is revealed to be Mr. Carter. Grandfather hired him to search this part of the country for uranium. Is grandfather trying to build an atomic bomb? Normally mill owners don't hire people to search for uranium, you know? Anyway, that explains all of the weird rocks on the ranch. They're uranium! Hey, maybe that's why Aunt Jane is bedridden. She got uranium poisoning from her chimney. Grandfather steps in here and starts a huge mining operation on the ranch. He is reunited with his sister, and the kids buy Aunt Jane a puppy. The end. Post-book follow-up. When I read this series as a kid, I stopped at this book and gave up on the Boxcar Children. It's a bad book in general, and an even worse mystery. We never get to meet the culprits! The mystery is solved off-screen by the random guy who showed up once. And by huge coincidence, Grandfather just happens to be one of the 2 people searching the area for uranium. It would have been so much better if Mystery Man had been the culprit. Sure, he only shows up for half a page before the end, but at least he's a character with a name, unlike the culprits. Now, I did like seeing the kids make friends with Aunt Jane, but I think it could have done better if we ever got to see the mean version of Aunt Jane. The Aunt Jane we get isn't all that mean. At worst, she's kind of picky and impatient, which is understandable because she's a sick old lady who hasn't left her bed in who knows how long. Or is she sick? At one point, Aunt Jane shuts the door to her room by herself, and the girls figure that Aunt Jane is faking her illness for attention. That's a surprisingly mean-spirited deduction for the Boxcar Children to make. Overall, this is a bad book with no mystery. It's just the kids visiting a relative and being nice to her, while all of the interesting things happen off-screen. It is bland and forgettable, and I would recommend skipping it. I give Boxcar Children number 4, Mystery Ranch, a 1 out of 10.